Looks like we're all set for public speak. And next, I will look for a motion to approve the minutes for the June 16th meeting.
Moved.
Okay, thank you, Anne.
Seconded.
Okay, and then all in favor? Aye. Yep. All right. Thank you. Next is organization for 2022 to 23, which we postponed last month. Sharon we did vote in Sharon as secretary. So just with a little bit of an update, we are short 2 voting board members. I have heard from the town about someone who filled out an inquiry form, and they have to talk to me first to check in. So I reached out, and he said he was just watching a few meetings and then would get back to me. So hopefully he likes what he's, that could go either way. But hopefully it will go well. And I have someone who I've been on boards with in the past who has also expressed interest. I think summer might just be a hard time for people to add a Thursday night meeting.
Yeah.
But I'm hopeful that by next month and certainly by September that we can fill those 2 seats. In the meantime, for vice chair and chair, I wanted to go ahead and nominate Chad as vice chair.
I second.
Okay, any discussion? And Chad is willing. Any discussion? Okay, then we'll go for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, terrific.
Thank you, Chad.
And then as far as chair, I can do it again this year unless someone else wants to, but I don't think there's anyone else who wants to. So I'll look for a nomination if someone wants to do that.
I would like to nominate Tracy for another year at chair.
Okay,
I second that.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. I know, I appreciate everyone continuing to be part of the committee because you're also valuable, and then stepping up to do these additional roles is necessary, but I know just because it's necessary, it doesn't mean that it's always appealing. So thanks for going ahead and putting in the extra effort. Okay, next is Rec Director's report. Alan, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think you all got a copy of my my report from the other day. Current programming, a summer playground program, the K through 5 level, as of this week, has 146 participants. The middle school Just Try It program has 28 registered participants. The swim program, as of this week, has 136 registered participants in levels 1 through 6. Wednesday basketball at OES has 18 registered participants. The Saturday soccer for grades K through 2 has 23. The Saturday soccer grades 3 through 5 has 14. The fitness program in the morning, the adult fitness, has 26. And I listed some programs that we've already committed to doing for the fall. We're going to continue, obviously, with our Saturday morning youth soccer league that runs September through mid-November for grades 3 through 6 with the other towns. Our instructional program, grades K through 2. Working on just finalizing some field hockey for next year, like we did for this year, like we did last year. The fitness class will continue, coming back to doing some adult Tai Chi classes and Burdanko fitness classes. Pickleball workshops, which has been a big hit, to do some of that in the fall. We will continue and add in our tennis instruction for middle school level kids in the afternoons after school. Juniors youth tennis in the after school in the fall, a track and field cross-country program for for younger kids, picking up from our track program from this past spring. Trying to continue with that and build on that. Adult tennis instruction, an after-school sports program, which will more likely be kind of called a ball skills class, which will give us the flexibility of doing what we want on a week-to-week basis. And any additional programming that we come up with as something we'd like to try for the fall or include into our schedule. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Do you have an update on the 2 weeks following the conclusion of the traditional summer programming?
The plan right now, I'm working on finalizing some details, so details are being worked out, is to possibly either extend rec in a different format, but extend rec an extra week, or possibly just do, we're planning some sports camp type of activities, soccer, basketball, an ice skating morning. So it's a mixture of those two that we're trying to put together and finalize with budgets and staffing and things like that. But we'll definitely have things planned out and organized for probably the early part of this coming week to begin to let people know.
So you're thinking registration at the beginning of this week?
Probably, yeah.
Anne, did you have a question?
I did. Last month you mentioned the 2 weeks. Is it now not 2 weeks, just 1 week?
Well, not sure yet whether we're going to do 1 week of our camp that and just kind of extend what we currently do with a little change in the format, or whether we will be able to add in that second week with a couple of different sports camps. That's not officially clarified yet.
Can you give us any more information about what you mean by changing the format? Are you changing the hours or?
Well, normally what we do is the program runs from 8 to 12 with kind of a structure where kids move from activity to activity to activity to activity, have a snack and have different options where the structure would be more structured where this is what we're offering from, let's say, 8:30 to 10:30, a soccer program or an arts and crafts, and less moving around from the program that we do now, where it would be more, these are the activities that we're running, probably less to offer in terms of what we offer.
But could someone drop their child off at the same time that they're dropping them off now and pick them up at the same time that they're picking them up?
It could.
For 1 week and possibly 2 weeks?
No, that will not, that would only last 1 week. It will not last into the last week of August. Doing something in the last week of August would be more of like we've done with just a tennis program or a soccer program for an hour in the morning where the kids can come in and play some soccer. There's certainly not going to be the staff options in the latter part of August.
Anne?
2 questions. When will working parents know that they can plan for this? And the other is, I think, and if you need the committee to support it, the revolving funds would be appropriate since this is an extension and much desired extension of recreation.
Tuesday. There's a couple of
People will
unanswered
know
questions
on
that I'm sorry?
No, I'm just clarifying. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Alan.
Tuesday. I'll know a lot more than I know right now in terms of specifics and financial and activity offerings, and can begin to let people know what we're doing.
Okay, thank you.
Alan, was there any thought given to outsourcing that second
No.
week?
Difficult to do only because of the fee structure. We can only charge so much money. That's something that needs to be addressed at some point moving forward, whether it's next year or whenever. At the maximum that we can charge is $30 for a program for a youth. And companies that would come in, they either have numbers that they need to make it work, or they need a higher fee. I mean, I have looked into a couple, and they're not looking at, making their profit off of $30 per kid. So it's something that it needs to be looked at in terms of how it could move and be different in the moving forward in the future.
Okay, so I would say two things. One is that I would think that the revolving fund, especially since none of that had to go into the general fund, could be used to subsidize some of that and make it an affordable program for families. I don't know about 30, but certainly could bring that down pretty substantially. The other thing is that if looking ahead to next summer, if you're anticipating that this is going to be an issue next summer, we would need to get that into the fall town meeting warrant, because by spring it will be too late. And in order to do that, we'd need to discuss it and vote on it at the August meeting. So can you bring us?
I would not be able to do much at the August meeting. I will not be at the August meeting. So, just to answer that question, I will not be attending the August meeting.
So then we're looking at so it is what it
We'll be
is, I
looking at
guess.
it in September.
I know, but Alan,
your assistant?
understanding then we're talking about summer 2024 before,
No, it could be done and get ready for summer 23.
but the fee could not be changed in time for summer 2023 unless you change it at the fall town meeting.
And when is the fall town meeting?
October? The warrant,
Okay.
we need it for the warrant by the beginning of September.
Okay.
So even if you're not attending the August meeting, if you could get something to us that we could discuss, then I think that would be the best. I'd just hate to lose another summer when we could potentially, be providing an 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. program because of one meeting. It would,
October 17th.
okay. But we can't do this at the September meeting, right? It would be too late by then. Like third week of September, we can't ask that something be
The
included.
warrant closing date, I don't have here, but I can get that. It's possible that a placeholder could just be constructed to get that done.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is a fact that they're going to be more expensive.
Oh, sure.
There's no getting away from that.
Oh, yeah.
But if it can improve the recreational program, we can get that passed. I'm all for that.
Right.
That's-
Yeah. Okay. So Alan, if you could try to get something to us, maybe as part of your director's report for the next meeting, just your sense of what a reasonable fee would be.
But could you have a different pricing schedule that might have to be passed, that is $30 for the recreation department? Any outsourced
Right,
could be, Alan would have to tell us what that number is, but.
right. It would just have to be a different title, like
Yeah, that's what I would do.
End of summer camp, the fee is this for residents and this for non-residents.
Yeah.
I agree with that suggestion.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Any other and then, I'm sorry, Alan, just the other thing for the, completely understandable about the request for metrics, waiting, because I know now is a really busy time, but I just did want to confirm that at the September meeting, we can get year-to-date programming, a year-to-year comparison, and then all feedback from Orleans citizens, I would assume since June, because that's when the new charge took effect. Can we expect that at the September meeting?
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, anything else? Sharon?
Alan, can you tell us what the current balance is in the revolving fund?
I cannot. I don't have that in front of me. I'm not in the office.
Okay. So this is something you're supposed to have for our meetings, and we've requested over and over again that you be prepared to have that information at
You-
these meetings.
Where was that, Sharon? Where did you request that?
It's in our
Yes.
charge, and we've requested it going back for 3 years now, that you have this information.
I think if that can be included in director's reports,
Right.
that would be great going forward.
Also, I'm just wondering, in terms of expenses, I know last year that there was a lot of money spent down in June, and I'm just wondering if that happened again this year.
There was expenses in June, yes.
Okay, could you possibly give us, not right now because you don't have it in front of you, but could you list that like you did last year for us? You made a really nice list for us last year of exactly what all the things were that you spent money on in June.
Sure.
I'm not talking about the form that goes to accounts payable or whatever, because that really doesn't give us any information, and it's just kind of a waste of paper. It could just be a list on one piece of paper, you know, $30 here, $600 there, and what it was that you bought with that amount.
Sure.
Thank you, Alan. Okay, swim program discussion. I'm going to turn this over to Anne because she brought it up at the last meeting and she's been leading the discussion, so.
Okay.
Do you want to update us? At the last meeting, there was a question about the swim program and the qualifications of the instructors, and there's been some back and forth since then.
Sure. Just to review for the committee and for people watching, we asked to hear about the certification level and policies for the swim program by way of reassurance of how that corner is being managed. And over the course of this month, that information has come forward. There are some citizens who actually saw that meeting and have asked to hear about this information. So, Alan, could you just let us know, please, the level of certification of your staff by individuals, how many staff, and something in general about the policy or expectation of staff, for instance, how many per swimmers, how the program is set up.
I have 6 staff, a water safety certified instructor, a water safety certified assistant, and everybody else is certified by the Red Cross and has taken the classes for water safety that gives them the ability to teach the classes. And the structure is that the participants come in by their level, and they're greeted by staff. They're prepared to go into the water, and they go in, and they have roughly a 30-minute class per day at that level with the appropriate number of instructors.
And the number of instructors for non-swimmers versus swimmers, how is that? How is the program designed? How many instructors?
I don't know what you mean, non-swimmers.
Oh, I thought some of your students or kids are non-swimmers, and the same number of instructors required to be present in the water with swimmers versus non-swimmers.
Yeah, there's some levels in which there are more instructors in there that are attending to the kids, especially at the younger level when the parents are actually encouraged to come into the water with them. And then as the groups get to the older level, there's less instructors in there. As they get to the higher levels, more of the higher certified instructors are doing the teaching.
Does the policy include a specific ratio, instructor to student?
I know that I'm aware that John had sent an email to Tracy about some of the things that were looked into. So I'm really not in a position to do a lot of commenting about that. I don't
Commenting
know if you
about
saw,
what the
I don't know if you
ratio
saw John.
expectation is?
I don't know if you saw John's email,
Did you see John's?
John Kelly's.
It doesn't-
I'm just asking, is there a policy about ratio for your staff? When a certain number of children are required to have, do you have a policy about number of instructors per children?
It's usually a 1-to-4 ratio,
A 1-to-4 ratio? And,
correct.
okay, so the certifications, there is one WSI or water safety instructor, and there any other formal certification among your staff?
I
You
don't
said
know
there
what-
was a water safety assistant.
That's as high as, that's as high as we go. Water
I
safety
understand
instructor.
it. The assistant, is that a formal certification where
Yeah.
they presented you, or they are?
Yes, they have, yes, it's through the Red Cross.
As in BSI, Basic Safety Instructor, certified?
Absolutely.
So the rest
Yes.
are BSI, and there's one WSI certification?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, just,
Can I just say one thing about the water safety?
sure, Chad.
This is kind of for your information. I was looking up Croatia for a completely different reason. And Croatia uses dogs. They have
Oh, I saw
trained
that
dogs.
yesterday.
And they might think about it at Nauset Beach or at these types of things that, you know, I don't know how expensive it is to train the dog and somebody has the dog. But it was really cool. There were dozens of them lined up all over the beach.
Actually, I saw a picture of that yesterday. We were making the table.
Yeah, it was really kind of cool.
an
I
appealing-
know dogs aren't allowed on the beach, but I pretty much think,
Those would be.
no, but it might save money, and I think it would be a great thing.
Yeah.
And I just thought about sharks, but anyway, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Just the last thing is part of the dialogue or emails about the swim program over the past month. There was an email from John Kelly in response to original inquiries about the swim program, and he had a few suggestions for things to pursue. And so just to update everyone, one was contacting other towns to determine what they provide and require for their swim lesson program. One was requesting additional funds in the FY24 budget to hire a 23rd lifeguard to be staffed at Pilgrim Lake while swim lessons are taking place. One was requesting including additional funds in the FY24 budget to try to recruit nationally certified swim instructors. And one was possibly considering a minimum starting age for children to participate in swim lessons in order to minimize risk. So, so the discussion can continue and the committee can dig into what the committee wants to, or if Alan has changes that he'd like to bring before the committee, I think we'd be interested in hearing them, and in order to, you know, shore up the swim program for next year. And
I think we potentially have a pending meeting with
yes,
Mr.
I'm
Kelly
sorry, yep.
to see what the town's interest is in, so probably short of that, it's premature to discuss what
Yes,
he wants.
yep. Sharon?
I just know that up until 3 or 4 years ago, we did not do swim instruction for as early an age as we are offering now. You did need to be older to start, and then there was no limit to the top end. So a 14-year-old who didn't know how to swim could take a lesson. Now the cutoff is 13. So I think it's important that sometimes there are people who are older that don't know how to swim that might like to take a lesson too.
Okay. All right. Carol?
This is not directly related, but I wanted Alan to know, and all of you, as sort of a heads up, I'm one of the samplers for APCC and OPC who are sampling freshwater ponds all over the Cape now. This is the second year Orleans has done it, but the other towns have been doing it for a long time, for cyanobacteria. And as you may know, Alan, that's really bad stuff, even before you can see the scum. And if you can see the scum, the place gets closed. The beauty of this is that they turn around the sampling results in 24 hours. So the next day, if something's really bad, they are in touch with the town health agent. One town's had freshwater pond closed yesterday, and there have been elevated levels of the bacteria, which is everywhere, in Orleans in a couple of ponds already, and that we're doing more than the scheduled sampling. We're actually doing weekly or more when it's elevated. So I guess I just put that out there because with the temperatures like this and so many people and our continuing nitrogen, if it were to close down on 24 hours' notice, say Pilgrim, which did have some elevated levels a few weeks ago, you might want to have a plan already in place for what you would do, because I don't think it's completely out of the realm of possibility.
Thank you.
That also really nicely bridges to the next item on the agenda, which I was about to say is on, on a really different note. I forwarded everyone a copy of a letter from Michael Herman asking our committee and other committees to consider supporting a fertilizer home rule petition. So you have the letter, and then there was also a copy of an article from a Nantucket, what Nantucket did. So I guess the thinking is that Orleans would be right along the same lines. And so the select board is looking for support from committees, and then more information and opportunities to help get the word out are to follow. And then it would be voted on at the fall town meeting. So is there any, so I guess Chad?
I don't think there's and maybe it's not important, there's not a differentiation between organic and inorganic fertilizer. And is that important in, what he's trying to do? Yeah.
I think the subject is nitrogen, not organic or inorganic.
Correct. And phosphorus.
It's a saltwater impairment question, which the nitrogen, whether it comes out of an organic mix or a non-organic mix,
Oh, is that right? Okay, well, good.
creates the same difficulties.
That answers my question.
And then phosphorus for fresh.
Right, I wanted to clarify. Number one, I vote to support this strongly. I also wanted to clarify, it's nitrogen and phosphorus, and it's the phosphorus that particularly drives the pond freshwater
Yeah.
blooms, and the cyanobacteria, really good that Orleans is following suit with the surrounding towns, because this is a
Good.
big deal and very possible, so thank you.
Yeah, well, if there's no difference in what I was talking about, then I'm all for it.
Right.
Will stores stop selling it?
We hope so. Ha!
Meth?
This program that Mike Herman is trying to get going has some stages to it, and this is stage one, and it is intended to be an inward-focused town, you know, an educational, persuasive
Good,
type of
yeah.
thing. The laws governing this, all the towns in the state are preempted from doing anything regulatory because the state has preempted the towns and holds the right to regulate it themselves. They don't give towns any authority to ban the use of fertilizers. That's a political thing with industry lobbying. I mean, it goes back a
Yeah.
long time, but basically, this first step is really intended to just recognize that there's a lot of people in this town that own properties that are having work done on those properties that they don't know what's being done. And there's a lot of landscaping companies that are not paying attention to that. So the point here is to try to get this working in our town. Next step would be with Sarah Peak and Julian Sear to try to see what might be done at the state level following the lead maybe of Nantucket, because Nantucket did just pass an article, I think at their May town meeting, that was a home rule petition to the state about this. And, but there's never been any progress made on that, in those efforts. But if the Cape Towns and the islands can sort of
Good.
combine their efforts, there might be greater political clout. But anyways, that's a long story, making a short story long.
No, that was helpful, thank you. Sharon?
So the point of this is to just raise awareness within the community of
Yeah, and I should
the
say
use
that the
of
town
fertilizer.
has bylaws regarding town property, which it is allowed to control. So there is policy about fertilizers, pesticides, and herbicides on town property. That's as far as it goes.
So like lawn fertilizer is what, like the big trucks that you see driving around spraying these massive lawns kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I think the ones that are spraying for mosquitoes and ticks and all that,
Well,
that's not a nitrogen
that's-
issue, but it's a pesticide.
Right.
Some years ago, Orleans Pond Coalition promoted the voluntary regulations that are present in town, and even put in all the water bills, hoping to reach everyone, exactly what the stipulations were, what time in the spring you had to stop using fertilizer, and what time in the fall you could start, and what settings, like promoting a new lawn, it was reasonable, but also favoring no lawns, because we're under restrictions to try to, we're spending a whole lot of money for sewering. We can't sewer the whole town quickly, but we can change some of the pollutants coming through the watershed from use of fertilizer.
But it would be a voluntary educational kind of effort.
Right, right. But the home rule petition would allow us to codify it. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll look for a motion to support then. Ian? Okay, second,
I second.
Chad? And any discussion? Okay, all in favor of supporting the home rule fertilizer petition article? Okay, great. So I will write a letter to the select board with that update. Okay. Organizational study update. So I forwarded everyone the proposal from the Collins Center at UMass Boston. And last night at the select board meeting, $26,300 was approved to pay for it. It will run roughly from August to December. And I'll ask Meph if you have anything to add, but the proposal really goes into quite a bit of detail explaining what they're going to do. I think it's going to be a little bit of a journey for the committee with what do we do in the meantime, because this is a lot of the advising that we've been doing will now be done by a different body. But I think we can work something out.
Yeah, I'm
Do you
not
have a
sure that that's where, all I know is that the main difference was that the hope was that this could be done by October.
Right.
Now it's December, and so it's really pushing everything probably into the May town meeting that you know, we'll have whatever change and recommendations there would be for that. I was not, and I could be missing this, I was not aware that there would be any change in your.
Oh, no, that was sort of a little bit tongue-in-cheek, sorry. But just sort of, there are things that we were going to get into policy-wise, so I just think it will be a little bit of a matter of figuring out what's coming from this study than trying to do that
But
ourselves.
I think the new stuff that's in your new charge is perfectly useful to try to
Okay,
move forward with.
okay. Any questions or comments? Carol?
Yeah, I just wanted to see more detail when this turns into a scope of work on one little part, and that was the community conversation. I thought it was a really good proposal. But where they talk about outreach and marketing, the input event or the participation in the process event, to residents, period. I would like to see some way, some definition of how we're going to reach different demographic groups, parents of young kids, parents of middle school kids, parents of high school kids, instead of, all retired people over 70 who, that's wonderful too, but we have a mixture, and rec is trying to reach all of those. And then secondly, not just those who've taken a rec program before. And I think that's a need we've talked about before, just as a committee, of promoting our wonderful offerings to more people. And how do you do that? So I'd like to see both of those specified by the how. And I don't know what the answer is, but to make the study really meaningful.
Sharon?
I just had two things, and it might just be the way that I'm reading the draft scope that was presented to the select board and comparing it to this. One thing was that the proposal was supposed to assess current and future recreation programming needs of the town using existing town provided data, and the linkage between the department, council on aging, and schools to expand recreation programming. I don't see that really in here. This is kind of general, and I think that that's something really specific that we were looking for, information-wise, that there's that connection made
It's
between.
in your charge, so.
Right, but it was also in the scope draft that John gave you guys. And then on the bottom, the number 4 point on the draft scope, which was to revise or develop new job descriptions as required to support. In this proposal, that is addressed as just an addendum. And again, that was really one of the important things. It's number 4. I don't know that it should just be an addendum to the report. It is an important piece of what we were looking for. And then this is just a procedural question. This said that there would be an RFP put out for this and lowest bids, and it doesn't appear anything like that happened.
I think it did happen, and no, it didn't.
Okay. Because when I asked Mr. Kelly about it, he said it wasn't on the town website, so I was wondering how we found these people and decided that they were the ones if there was no public notice given to the proposal.
I thought there was something said last night that I didn't totally understand, but that because it was this group it didn't have to.
Yeah, the procurement
Oh.
rules, I'm not going to try to.
Okay.
I'm just
I do
wondering.
know That an RFP was put out and had no responses. And one of the people, this group was one of the groups that was invited to bid on the RFP. And that they're known to the town through some other work that they've done. So they were asked why it was that they didn't want to bid. And I think money was part of it. And anyways, that opened up a dialogue. And I think John and the people in that group figured out how it was that they would be willing to do the work. But I think that the procurement process has been satisfied.
Ann?
Beth, is some of this a duplication of what the Charter Committee is doing? No, they're not looking at these
I think
bigger
the main
things.
thing for the Charter Committee is just looking at this committee and what its makeup is and how the membership is created, which is by select board appointment now. I think the real question that they asked was, should the rec program become a commission, in which case the membership would be voted. And I'm not sure, Tracy, if you were part of the conversation with them about that.
Yeah, they didn't think it would make any difference in our charge or the scope of our work if we were a commission.
And you know, down the road, if that turns out to be something that people want, that can be done at town meeting. It doesn't have to wait for a charter, another 7 years for charter review.
Oh, interesting.
Uh-huh.
So I don't mean to
No,
hog
no,
the
no.
floor here, but is this proposal, is it useful for us to communicate to the select board, for instance, Carol's request for a little?
Yes, I think whatever you identified tonight in your discussions about what might be missing from that charge or what maybe is there that you don't think it has that much bearing, I think it would be quicker the better to let John know. And I'll give him a heads up, but I think that is a better thing coming from you, Tracy, or somebody else.
Yep, I'm happy to do that. So to review, I guess we'll take a vote on it just to be official. So I'll make a motion to write a letter to the select board expressing the committee's support for moving, for the proposal with these notes. And one is consideration in terms of community conversation, how to reach different demographics, including different age groups and those who haven't yet taken a rec program or participated in anything with the department. Also looking more closely at the linkage between recreation, COA, schools, and underlining the importance of coming out of the project with clear draft job descriptions. Is there anything else, Ann?
I think there may be. For instance, is this a setting where we say that we have supported the concept of a, what is it, of community life, a coordinator of community life? And we've also, I think we supported the concept of a coordinator of volunteers.
I can't imagine that work would get done without an interview with you.
Right,
Right, we'll be part of
Is
it.
it in here?
So that's,
so we'll keep
that's
that.
the kind of information that you can volunteer.
keep.
But I don't think in their charge, they should be given any sort of outcomes that they're
Exactly.
expecting.
Okay.
But Carol's notes, there was one other thing I thought, and I would defer to you guys thinking about it. understandably, this is a municipal organizational assessment, but it is about recreation, and they're not recreation professionals. Could we request that they engage a volunteer from another town or a retired recreation professional to help them know what questions to ask?
I can't,
We can
I
try.
don't know if that's
We can,
useful or not.
Maybe as part of the interviews.
I think that the organizational study is the first step in the sort of process of growing the program into being what people envision. And so putting too much expectations on what this study is supposed to provide, that may not be what's going to happen.
it just strikes me, if you bring in somebody to a hospital to study how their ORs are functioning, somebody who doesn't know anything about ORs may not have the questions to ask in the interviews that come out with, I don't know, a thought.
Could I suggest then that we, in thinking about the first three ideas that were cited, those have all been big themes for the committee: outreach and communication with the community and with citizens, linking together the different entities in town to collaborate. And that's also something, I think, if part of this is looking at neighboring towns, certainly Truro Recreation and the COA just joined forces, Eastham Recreation, the after-school program joined forces, so that hopefully they'll find their way to that anyway. And then clarity on job descriptions and responsibilities has also been a theme for the committee. So I think leading with those three, and then perhaps, a final consideration would be that we do have people in town with recreation expertise, and we would encourage consultants to make use of them during the interview process.
I know they say they're going to, if the scope is changed after they start, they're going to charge more.
Right, now, money is, the started at 15,000, it's up to 20,300.
Six.
It's really, there's a lot of scrambling to find consulting monies that can be used for this. And I think that at the October town meeting, there will be an article to try to replenish the consulting account. And that may, I got the impression last night, and I'm sorry I didn't get this clear, that in fact, more, well, I guess it's just 20,300 is what it's at now.
26.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's been a scramble, but the money is there to be used.
Right. Yep.
I can't remember whether it was last month or 2 months ago, but somebody came for public speak
Last month.
last month, and I have two questions. Was he ever contacted?
I've had meetings and
With him.
emails back and forth with him
Okay.
prior to him coming.
Okay. But he's not a part of this organizational thing, and has he been told that he's not? Because I think, if I remember his conversation, he wanted to do a side-by-side for free.
That
and I-
was the master, that was a separate project. So that was a CPC project, studying the recreational fields at Eldridge in the schools. That's what he wanted to do a side of, not this.
Okay, and has he been told that he's not doing that, I guess, is really what I wonder.
Not in so many words. I can,
But he
I
probably
mean, I
should.
don't,
It's not up to us anyway, but.
yeah, it's,
It's the regional school committee that's in charge of that.
yeah, so we can talk about it under CPC. I haven't heard from him since he spoke, so certainly if he reaches out, I can.
I thought he was very engaging, that's all.
Yeah, I can
just-
give an update. I can give an update.
That's
and
fine.
then-
Okay, I'm
and then-
sorry.
And then, no, reaching out to him, I can do that. All right, so back to that motion. Is there a second on submitting a letter outline, with those three main points and then just a note about? Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay. All right, is CPC next? And it is. Okay, so I know Carol has an update, and, right, did you want to go first?
Just very briefly, this is an update on the trail signage project on town-owned conservation lands. We got CPC money a year and a half ago, about a year and a half ago, and none has been spent yet, although we've put time in trying to figure out what we really propose to do and what it would really take to do it. I'm in touch with Mike Brink, who has a parallel project. He's the head of it for conservation, and theirs was a trail signage at the parking lot going into the conservation area, not at the trailhead about the conservation area, where he's lining up a meeting between us, the two of us, and Janelle, and we're pulling in an OCT representative sometime in August. That's up to Mike. He's arranging that. And we're going to see if there's a way we can use the funds more creatively to achieve both goals, because I personally don't feel, and Mike agrees, that marking trails that only have one loop are not necessary. In fact, might even wreck the outdoor experience. And the only area currently that would qualify as more complex trails is Kents Point. And that's a mess since COVID, since so much use. So we're going to work on how we change that. Maybe we put maps on the kiosks that they're building anyway. Maybe our money is used to print those maps, but we don't actually create a separate standing sign to do it. So more to come.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Carol. So just quickly on the on the master plan study. So this was from CPC, $52,000 to look at OES, the middle school in Eldridge, and bring representatives together from the schools, from REC, from CONSCOM, from Nauset Together We Can, to look at overlapping, you said it, you had a great, I think, different priorities but overlapping goals for that field space. We do have representatives from a number of those entities already, and Weston and Sampson is going to take the project on, and I think work will start in August. And I'm not sure how long it will take, but it will be, I think it'll be a really interesting process, and hopefully it answers some questions about what's possible there. And then as far as Stephen Cass, who that was his offer, I think it's not who the town, who we work with isn't really our call. I think it's unnecessarily confusing and probably complicating things to try and find a way for him to do a side-by-side study. There are other ways to support the committee, including 2 open seats. And public comment, and certainly it will be a really public and transparent process. But I just wouldn't want to undermine Weston and Sampson or anyone else by having by supporting that idea.
No, I guess my question was, I know he made that presentation to us. I don't know who else he made that
I
presentation.
think he made it to the select board too.
I don't remember if he did. I was just going to say that the town was very clear and careful that they wanted this to be a regional school committee-led project, and there's a political background there, but it was just felt that when the study is completed, the regional school committee has to feel that it was done for them and not.
I guess I just feel that he did take the time to make a presentation here and somewhere else. I think it's only the appropriate thing that somebody say thank you, but.
Right, and
And I don't know who that body is, and if it's us,
think
I'm happy to write a note to him.
Okay. If you wanted to write a note expressing thanks, because I think it was certainly wonderful to hear from him, I can send you.
What, yeah, if everybody feels, I mean, I don't think you need to vote. I think if I took the time to make a presentation, I'd like to know if I made it or not.
Yeah, no, I think, but again, I would think clarifying, I would just thank him for.
Why don't you, yeah, if you send me his stuff and
Okay,
just say what
because
you
it
want me to
wasn't,
write,
it's
I'll be
not.
happy to do that.
It's not like we decided
No,
to go with him or not, because it wasn't.
that wasn't our decision.
Right, so I think clarifying that too would be important. Okay.
Well, maybe then I shouldn't. I mean, if it wasn't our decision anyway.
Yeah, I think he's reached out to me a few
And that
times.
doesn't remember,
It was a ways back, and I don't think it was specifically in reference to this so much as just recreation in general. But it was after that, I think I was at that meeting, it was after that meeting. Oh,
We
you
were here.
Yes,
Yeah.
and then he came out and introduced himself and gave me his business card, and then subsequently reached out several times, and I met with him and walked.
oh, okay, then. Okay.
So there has been some back and forth, and I think if he
I
has.
didn't know that, so I
Yeah, I think
don't
if he
worry.
has any more questions, he knows where to find me.
Okay.
Okay, Community Center Task Force. Oh, I'm sorry to jump ahead. CPC for me.
Two things. It's just a brief pickleball thing. That's CPC. Who's, now that, wasn't Kyle heading that up?
Kyle was heading it up, and the story there was that they couldn't get anyone to do it,
No, I
and so
understand.
DPW was going to do it, and I think Joan had sort of taken it because Joan was the liaison for that project. So she has been in touch with DPW and was going to give us an update, but did not. Alan, did you have any update on the pickleball courts by chance?
What I do know is that the material, the poles and the netting have arrived,
Okay.
and the paint arrived today. And in discussions with Ron and Tom, there is a little bit of area on the existing temporary pickleball court that needs some refining before the project begins. There's kind of a dip there that we feel needs to be filled in and smoothed out. How that's done, I don't, it's not my area, but that's going to be taken care of first, but the materials and the paint have arrived.
And
Once again, a citizen came to me excited about pickleball. Has been playing in Orleans, really pleased that they're going to be courts. But was a little concerned when she heard that there were 4 courts and whether the same enclosure, because she's a good pickleball player. Apparently, you get pretty far off the court during play, and was there room for 4 versus 3? And I just said, I don't know. I don't know what the current wires that are surrounding the fence, surrounding the tennis courts are staying. And if so, does a pickleball expert know that there's enough space to be off the court while everybody's playing?
Are you asking me that?
well,
I'm
you're,
asking if somebody
I mean,
is.
I'm not a pickleball expert by any means.
Right, and we know Ron and Tom are unlikely to be, so
Right.
that's why I brought the question to this setting, to see who's advising about.
I think, Ron, there was some group of company that actually was one of the options for doing the work that obviously bid high, but they're not doing it because they either can't. Ron had some discussions with them. They were offering their services and their knowledge on what paint to order and whatnot. And I would assume, I don't know, whether there was any discussions about dimensions. I mean, if you're going to do it, it's going to be turned the opposite way than the pickleball courts are now. So if they're running east to west, they're gonna run north to south with a chain link fence in the middle where the tennis court were. So if there was an issue, putting 3 would probably not make a huge difference because the 2 courts that were there, that would be there, would have any, if you will, back court to the fence issues. It's something I can, connect with Ron tomorrow about and just say, hey, are we good with this? I personally don't know.
Yeah, there certainly has to be like in tennis, there's a minimum, on the 2 sides, and even a bigger minimum back and front. And I'm sure pickleball that wouldn't be too hard to look up. I imagine Ron
There's a
would know that.
standard, I just
And if you hit
wanted-
that minimum, and if that's what you want, then what are you going to do?
Yes.
Right.
Using the OR analogy again, the golden moment is before things are cut.
Alan, did you want to follow up with Ron on that and then let us know?
I'll do that, yep, I will.
Thank you, because that's a good
Yeah,
point,
thank
but
you
I'm
for
sure
bringing that up.
there's an easy answer.
Right. Okay. Community Center Task Force, the Community Center Task Force continues to meet and look at options. And now we're talking a little more about what a building might actually look like. So it's exciting and challenging at the same time. But the big thing coming into next month is that there will be a meeting for the community on August 15th, I think at the COA around 4:30 or 5, when potential drawings or designs or scopes for what a community center might have will be presented, and community members can offer input.
Can you repeat the time again?
It is going to be on August 15th, and I know they were hoping for around 5 PM. That was still to be confirmed.
Thank you.
But the architect has been wonderful, and it's really exciting to see what a community center might look like, and, to start to imagine what might go on there. But I think clarifying from people in town exactly what sorts of things they think they'd use and what their priorities are would be important. The survey was helpful, except insofar as that everyone wants a little bit of everything. So it didn't.
That's what happens when you ask.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's what we get. So hopefully this meeting will,
It'll come together.
yeah, will rein in some of those ideas in a productive way. For future agenda items, obviously, anytime between now and the next meeting, let me know. In addition to whatever Alan puts together for proposing a fee structure for the end of the summer, I know we want to have a big fee discussion this fall, but in light of that fall town meeting being the opportunity to set things up for next summer, I did wonder if we wanted to discuss at the next meeting summer adult fees for non-residents. When we reviewed fees last summer, there weren't any adult programs, so we didn't touch adult non-resident fees for summer. So that means that this summer, a non-resident adult tennis class is 15, but a non-resident child's tennis class is 30. So it seems like without doing a lot of deep thinking or comparisons or anything else, just leveling that would be useful to sort of clean everything up at the fall town meeting. And then in the fall, if we want to do a deep dive, that's still, we can still do that. So again, so just give it some thought, and then at the next meeting, we can talk about it. Anything else for next month? Okay, all right, then I will look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, seconded, I'll second it, and all in favor? All right, thanks very much. Thank you, Alan.